The special revenue fund are funds that if we get funds into that fund, then we have to use it for Parks and Rec. If we get grant money to buy like a trolley or something, it would go into the bus fund, and we have to spend it for that purpose. And then we have trust and agency funds. Those are funds such as our fuel farm. So we have a fuel farm down at Transit, and whenever everything is, when the police or anybody needs fuel, they can go down there, and then their department gets billed for that usage. Um, Capital project funds, that's where most of our capital is held unless it's within a certain department. And enterprise funds are our funds, the water and sewer funds, and those are funds that are mostly self-supported. In 2025, let me catch up here. Most of our funds, the expenditures exceeded the revenue, except for street construction, which includes Fund 219 and 220, and transit. And it's kind of interesting because when I first became auditor, transit was our fund that struggled the most. We used to literally have to hold invoices because we couldn't make payments from that fund. And now it's one of our funds that have a lot of cash reserves sitting there. So this isn't too much to get excited about because a lot of times revenue comes in prior years and then the expenditures don't get paid out until the next year. So just because the expenditures exceed the revenues doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad thing. It just might mean that funds were received prior to. In front of you and on this slide, because it's very small, you actually have a summary of all the general fund revenue. In 2025, we brought in 26, almost 27 million. And then in 2024, we brought in 24 million for an increase in 2.6 million in funds. And we'll kind of talk about that in a little bit more detail. But there is a breakdown there of all of the general fund buckets that we put funds into. Major changes in the revenue for the general fund were interest. Interest actually went down. We've done a really good job increasing the interest, and then when the rates fell, we did lose some money. Hopefully, we will bring that up a little bit. We did invest in some more CDs, and then we have an MX account that's liquidable that we've been putting funds into that we're able to transfer as we see needed. So that should help with bringing the interest up a little bit. Building permits is up in 2025, and that will continue to go up in this year in 2026. That's due to bringing the building department back into the city and managing that ourselves. EMS fees were up. There were some rate changes, so that helped increase that, and that should continue to grow a little bit, but that will maintain steady at that increase. Income tax last year, we had a great year on income tax. We had about a 5% increase. There'll be a slide later that shows you that breakdown. Sale of bonds, that was when we do sales of bonds, that gets recorded as revenue, but it's also offset by expense. So that was like 600 and some thousand that we borrowed last year. And then grants, we brought in a lot of grants this past year. And some of those grants will continue to come in 2026. So the next slide you also have in front of you, that's the general fund expenditures. For 2025, year-to-date expenditures were 28 million, and the prior year was 24. So we did have an increase in expenditures, and we'll talk about some of those as we continue to go on as well. You'll see payroll as a main supporter of the general fund expenditures. And of course, we have 3 union contracts that have already been set in place. So payroll will continue to increase, obviously. But the main piece to the payroll that a lot of people are more interested in is the police and fire. And you can see we budgeted 7 million, we spent 7 million. Last year's year-to-date expenses for the police was 6.1 million. So that increased. However, in the prior year, we also had some of those police expenditures in the ARPA fund, which was a different fund. In 2025, all those expenditures were brought into the general fund once that grant ended. So that's why you're seeing a huge increase in the police department. And then you can see fire salaries did go up as well. General fund cash, there'll be a slide on that, but general fund cash at the end of the year was 4.8 million. In the prior year, it was 5.8 million. Salaries and fringes in 2024, we spent 19 million and 25. We spent almost 21 million, almost a $2 million change. There's a lot of reasons for that change, and we're going to see probably more of an increase. This is a year that we'll be having negotiations. We'll actually start that process probably in June, if not before, for the ASPE contract. But one thing that makes budgeting for salary so hard is the back pay, the payouts, and the in lieu of pays. Those seem to like hit us big time at the end of the year. We did have only 1 month of insurance holiday. So for you that may not know this, everybody is in our insurance plan that has an HSA, or actually, yeah, an HSA. Actually, it might not just be the HSA. Our reserve got built up in our insurance plan, so we had enough money to use some of our reserve funds to pay for the insurance for 1 month. So when that happens, we don't have to use city funds to pay it for that month. We can use that reserve fund that is held by the insurance company, and it also saves our employees some money, so that's a good thing. In 2024, we had 2 months of holiday pay, and this year we only had one. But our reserve is still very high, so we have discussed with the insurance committee maybe doing another round of that insurance holiday, maybe in June. I just put a little graph down there so you can see how important the payroll is, because it does consume 74% of the general fund expenditures. The next slide will show you all of the funds that have payroll, and you can kind of see the increases in payroll. The general fund, you can see that from 2024 to 2025, that increase. The next biggest fund was, well, the biggest increase was the ARPA Violent Crimes Grant. That 800,000 is what you see as an increase in the general fund on that previous slide. That was the ARPA Violent Crimes Grant. It's now all those employees since that grant ended has been moved up into the general fund. So that's one reason again for that increase. So overall, payroll went up $1.5 million throughout all of the funds. Health insurance is another contributor of the city's expenditures. It went up $500,000 from 2024. We've actually not had an increase, but the changes whenever we hire new employees or people go from family to from single to family, those changes is what causes the increase. So there is just a little example of 2022, we were at 7 million. 2023, we dropped to almost 5.6. 2024, 5.9, and now we're back up to 6.3. But the good thing is we have been steady on our insurance increases there. Next slide will show at the end of the year, talking about general fund cash. We ended the year with 4.8 million. We had carry forwards of 576,000, leaving us with a carryover balance of 4.2. Over along the side, you can kind of see a running balance of where we've been going back clear to 2012. So it did decrease a little bit. And that's something that we need to keep an eye on, because we need to have 2 months of revenue or expenditures in our reserve or in this as a carryover to be able to cover our expenses if we need to. So 4.2 doesn't really cover that. So we need to still keep a very, very close eye on our revenue and expenditures. Income tax in 2024, we brought in 19.4 million. And in 2025, we brought in 20 million. The general fund brought in 10 million, and the safety levy brought in 5 million. So the right there was a huge difference. This year, and we'll talk about that in a second, but there's a breakdown of the December 2025 income tax. You can see where the money comes from with the withholding businesses and individuals. This is something that we're starting to track more frequently to see why there's differences. And it's so hard because with the individuals, it's pretty steady, but then with the businesses and the withholdings, it jumps around so much. We did a big investigation on some of the changes, and it really didn't make sense. There was companies that didn't pay as much, and then there was companies that came in and paid a lot more. So I think we're tracking that better, and maybe we'll be able to capture a trend on that. But our income tax has done a great job collecting and continuing to capture as much revenue as they can. As you know, in 2026, our income tax dropped to 1.8%. And just to let you know, as of last Friday, we were down 341, almost $342,000. So that that is going to continue to drop more because the dollar amount that we're down now still includes some money for the street levy. In January and actually clear through this quarter, we'll still be getting money in for the street levy. So we really won't see the big decline until after first quarter. And all the income tax refunds that will be filed here in April will still reflect some of that street levy and that 2%. Next slide is very tiny, but you do have this in front of you. This is all the other funds. Very, very tiny, even on your paper. So Lauren will be sending this out to you so you can look more closely at those. For these funds, it's also kind of the same as the general fund. If you look at the first grouping, the sub funds, those are our big projects that are going on in the sewer fund. Most of those are grant funded. Those are one of the ones that, like, we received the CDS grant and the ODD grant in prior years, and now that we've been working on the big sewer plant remodel, the expenditures are a lot higher. Most of those funds are coming from the OWDA loan or from other grants that we've gotten. Transit, they actually have revenue exceeding their expenditures. They have an ODOT grant, and then they just redid their contract with Roscoe, which has really helped them. The fund that I'm really keeping my closest eye right now is the sewer fund, because as that project comes to an end, we will be needing to start paying off that loan for the sewer plant next year. And we're getting ready to do a big review on that within the next couple weeks. ACGP grant, that is the park project that's new on here. That is just money comes in and money goes out. That will actually wash out at the end, and we have to report cash whether we actually receive the cash or not. So some of it we don't even see the cash; it just goes straight to the vendors, but we still have to next is street construction. In 2025, the tax levy brought in $2 million. We paid $364,000 of debt, which will come to an end. We have one more debt payment, and then that'll be gone. In street improvements, we did $870,000 with street maintenance of $56,000 for a total of almost $1.3 million. And then we did additional work using state highway funds. The state highway funds can only be used on state highways. And then the OPWC grant was $72,000 last year. We do still have some funds available. Our current budget this year to do street construction is $642,000, and we still have some funds available to unappropriate if we need to. 2025 capital, and 2024 we did $32 million in capital projects or capital purchases, and then in 2025 it dropped to 21. But the sewer plant in 2026 was 23 million, and then in 2025 dropped to 8 million. So really, we're consistent with our capital projects. It just looks a little bit weird whenever we have some of those bigger projects going. And then the ACGP project is going to be in here, so that also inflates these numbers a little bit as well. At the beginning of 2025, we had 11.3 million in debt. We paid 1.6 million of debt. And then we ended the year with 11.4 because we did incur debt in 2025. I think this year the only debt that we plan to incur would be for the round of police cruisers, and that's something that we'll discuss at a later time. But that was something that's included in the 2026 budget, but no other big borrowings at this point. Unappropriated balances. We are doing good with unappropriated balances. Those are whenever administration or anybody asks for an additional appropriations, we track that. We have to make sure that our resources do not exceed our expenditures. So we do track all the unappropriated balances, and right now those all look good. I think right now we're still at around 4.2 in the general fund, so that's good. Just a few notes. We will be having extended office hours for the income tax department. We're going to stay open on Tuesday, April the 14th, and Wednesday, April the 15th, from 7:30 a.m. until 6 p.m. That will give people a little bit of extra time to come in and file. We will be meeting, there's an ordinance to meet to discuss refuse and recycling and to review those fees. So we will be working on that. I know I've had people questioning that. So that is a project that we'll be working on probably within the next week. Last year, we did win the PAFR and the AFR award, which is awards for good financial reporting and good budgeting. So I just think that's important to let everybody know that we did win those awards from the state. We are getting ready to begin our audit and the compilation. So that should be keeping everybody very busy. And you will be hearing from the state auditor, probably requested information, making sure that you guys all have your public records and your sunshine law done, because they will ask for certificates of those things. And then we have two big committee assignments coming to you guys. One of them is to appropriate additional funding. Those were the items that were cut from the budget with the plan of coming back. So like Parks and Rec, we cut a lot of stuff because it had a lot of maintenance stuff in there. So we need to bring that back to council. Probably have to take that from the general fund because Parks and Rec is not going to have enough funding to do that. And then another big project is timekeeping. We do plan on sending, and Lauren might have already sent this, a request to do a citywide timekeeping program. Right now, every department reports their time differently. We have some that have the old school, like clock in, clock out cards. We have some that just write it on paper. The fire department uses a scheduling module to help with theirs, and that's something that we would like the police department to do. We think it will help Micah and the police department really lessen her time with doing payroll and then just keep things more accurate. It will also allow us to do to track what you're doing. So if somebody's actually on the recycling truck, they can put that they worked in recycling. If they did refuse that day, they can track their time in refuse. So that's something that's going to be coming to council if you don't already have that. I think that's it. The last few pages I have are just the financial statements that you have in front of you. If there's any information that you want or additional information, this is just a summary. I am more than willing to give you more information or more details. Just let me know if you need more. Any questions? Oh, I did want to tell you, I forgot this part. We did receive the marijuana tax, and it was $334,000. So that is money that goes into the general fund and can be spent. There's no regulations on spending that. But that we did just get that this year. It was kind of funny because I looked and kept up on that, and then out of the blue one day, I'm like, there it is. There was no notice that it was coming, so we did get that money.
How long is that for? I mean, what period was that for?
That was for 2025. I'll have to confirm that, but do you remember what that was? It was like half a year in
Like September.
Yes, sorry. So I believe we for sure received at least from August of 24 to November of 25 in the first lump sum. And then in January, we did receive December's payment. And I'm not sure if we received anything for 26 yet in February, but we're anticipating a hopeful trend of at least 20,000. And I believe all we have to do is assign a committee to council, and you guys will decide where we can put those funds and how they're spent. But that'll be a council decision that comes before you. But we are now, after more than 2 years, almost 3 years since that passed, from the state level, we're receiving all of those adult use cannabis funds regularly now that are just deposited. So
We put those in the general
Additional
fund.
legislation will come to you for that.
Yeah, we put that in the general fund, but we did create a new line so that way we can track that and be able to report what that is.
Okay, can you go back to the slide that had the water revenue versus expenses on it? Because it showed up, the expenses were quite a bit more. We talked about sewer, but we didn't talk about water.
Water, we had some huge projects. I can get you a list of those projects. I think one of them was, well, I know we got a new tank and we did some well work. I can give you a breakdown of what those big projects were. So I'll send those out to you tomorrow.
Okay, then just to confirm, the carry forward is 4.2 mil?
Yes.
Okay. So we had discussed during the budget that we were looking at maybe first of the year coming back and funding an additional police and additional fire, and taking that out of the carry forward. So we can have that discussion at some point, but to me, it looks like there's money there to do that, take a little bit of risk, and probably, what, 250 for 2 positions?
Yeah.
So I think that, in my opinion, that would be a good thing to do to keep our safety forces where they need to be, especially with EMS bringing in over 1.6 million. If we keep losing people there, we're not going to have that revenue. So we need to kind of keep that balance there with them, and we need to keep the streets safe too. We've talked in the past about maybe doing waste management, making them an enterprise fund. Can we look at that again this year and see if that's a good idea to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just think it would be a lot easier for us to track all that stuff together, just like we do water and sewer, and then it's not impacting the general fund at all. And it takes away some of that discussion points, I think.
Yeah,
down
we've
the
talked
road.
about that several times. So I think it's just something that we need to really focus on if that's something that council wants to do. So for both of those items, we'll just have to get a committee assignment done so that way we can assign it to a committee and then start working on those projects.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
This presentation is already live on the auditor's office website as well. So you can just go to chillicothe.oh.gov, go to the auditor's department, and under reports and budgets, you'll find the full 2025 budget review.
It is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials. Welcome to the February 23, 2026 regular city council meeting. We're meeting at 26 South Paint Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio, and I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Bennett.
Present.
Payne.
Here.
McQuirt.
Here.
Barnes. McKeever.
Here.
Dement. Preston.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Creed.
Here.
Councilmember Barnes informed me that he would not be in attendance this evening. Is there a motion to excuse him from tonight's meeting? Mr. Dement moves, and seconded by Ms. Dunn. And the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
McQuirt.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Mr. Barnes is excused. Would Mr. Creed lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes from the February 9, 2026 meeting have been distributed. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Ms. Payne moves. Is there a second? Second, Mr. McQuirt, and the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
McQuirt.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Minutes are approved. We'll now move to reports of committees. Development Committee, Mr. Dement.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Development has nothing on tonight's agenda and nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Engineering Committee, Ms. Dunn.
President Shoemaker, there is nothing on the agenda tonight and nothing to report from Engineering Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance Technology Committee, Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have one item on the agenda tonight, and that's $35,000 for emergency purchase of road salt. And at the appropriate time, I'll make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on that. And that's all we have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Human Resources Committee, Ms. Payne.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We do not have anything to report on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Committee, Mr. Barnes isn't here. So we'll move on to Safety Service Committee, Ms. Preston.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Safety Services has nothing on the agenda, therefore nothing to report, but I do want to announce a push-in ceremony tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. at Station 4 for the new medic that they have just received. It'll be at 100 University Drive. They've been waiting on it for about 4 years, so they're pretty excited about it. And that'll be it.
Thank you. Utilities Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Utilities has nothing on the agenda and nothing to report on the utility side. However, I would like to make a report for the Nuisance Abatement Committee. 2025 report from the nuisance officer, Jeff Moorhead. I shared this information with the rest of the council via email, but for the public. Report is 31 complaints. 31 complaints and 494 notices sent out involving junk cars in yards. 6 of the junk cars had been towed due to no action being done by the property owners, and the remaining car violations were removed off the property as requested. Approximately 75% of the violation complaints are called in by citizen residents, and the information is passed along to the nuisance officer via Angie polling, via email, phone calls, or the cclickfix.com app has been working as well. And that's the completion of the report.
Thank you. City Services Committee, Mr. McQuirt.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I have one item on the agenda, Second reading of a resolution authorizing the disposal of municipal property that is not needed for public use or is obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 721.15, by way of auction. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Community Affairs Committee, Ms. Bennett.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have nothing to report and nothing on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to reports of officials. Mayor Feeney let me know he couldn't be here tonight, but I know that the Chief of Staff has a report for us.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. For those who don't know, I'm Clint Boggs, Chief of Staff for City of Chiillicothe, and I'm here tonight just to update council on the ODOT Bridge Street project. Just to remind everyone, ODOT is improving the Bridge Street corridor between Riverside Street and the Chiillicothe Mall. They're adding a northbound lane, improving southbound lanes, replacing interchange pavement, and adding pedestrian infrastructure, including a shared use path now connected to the bike path right off Riverside Street. Total cost is projected to be around $19.5 million. I don't know where they stand today, how much they've spent, but it's quite the sizable project with expected summer 2027 completion date. Things that they've completed thus far, you guys might have noticed, with the project this size, a significant amount of utilities need to be moved. That's been completed. The shared path that I just mentioned, sidewalk along the bridge on Bridge Street, rail painting, the roundabout near Walmart on Stewart Road, and the North Plaza Marietta Road connector, which flows behind Cane's and Applebee's. So that's all completed. Upcoming, March 9th, all southbound lanes will be closed from Stewart Road to North Plaza Boulevard. And what I just mentioned was the connector behind Applebee's and Cane's. That was necessary because North Plaza Boulevard will be completely closed. You won't be able to enter off right where Roosters is. So if you want to get to behind Roosters, any of those establishments, you'll have to turn, I believe, beside Applebee's and do the connector route behind Applebee's and Cane's. One thing I wanted to mention that maybe a lot of public's not aware of is that the on-ramp, the High Street on-ramp near 104 High Street on-ramp that gets 35 eastbound is to be closed starting March 9th. That was necessary due to ODOT's modeling. It's a sophisticated model. I'm going to pretend to understand. Showed that if that were to remain open, that there'd be unsafe conditions on 35 eastbound with the Bridge Street exit also closed. Again, can't explain it, but that would be something anyone here can contact ODOT with, and I'll give that contact information at the end of this. Timeline. Full pavement replacement in the interchange area is targeted for completion before Thanksgiving, so 2026. This year, everything should reopen in time for the holidays. We also don't want the congestion there on Bridge Street in November, December, but before Thanksgiving, everything should be back open if all goes as planned. I just posted on our Facebook video, there's a link to ODOT's page concerning this project. It has FAQs, it has detour routes, it has highlights that have completed thus far, like I mentioned earlier, an overview, the original explanation why they started all of this. It's very informative. Again, I just posted it on our Facebook link. Or under this video, the very first comment should be from the City of Chiillicothe. You can click the link, and it should take you to ODOT's page. I will also make sure it's on our webpage for anyone who would like to visit that. It's chiillicotheoh.gov. That's that. I appreciate you guys' time.
Are there any questions for Mr. Boggs?
It's on our Facebook page. Chiillicothe OH. I think that's it. ChiillicotheOhio.com. Facebook/Chiillicothe OH, I believe. Yeah, wherever these are streamed, we'll have that link there. Yeah, I should have made that clear. I apologize.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, Auditor Spetnagel.
I do not have anything to report today other than prior to this meeting, we did a budget review. That review is on the city website under the auditor section. So if anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Assistant Law Director, Mr. Anastasi.
Nothing really new to report. Continuing in the same vein of trying cases, doing research, and trying to give Anna the best answers for what we can do for the city. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to audience participation. Any person wishing to address the council must first provide his or her name and address. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes, and I'll give you a warning when there is 1 minute remaining. Please press the button there, and when it's green, there you are.
Hi, City Council people. My name is Alex Ruby. I am the Community Outreach Director for the Pioneer Center and the Ross County Board of DD. And my purpose speaking to you tonight is to inform you that March is Developmental Disability Awareness Month. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you. It's been a long day. Kids out of school. And so we have a lot of great stuff that we are doing in March for Developmental Disability Awareness Month. And I would like to invite you all to our Developmental Disability Awareness Walk that is taking place downtown at 10 a.m. on Friday, March 6th. This event is a great reminder of why we do what we do, and we will have a lot of people from the community there. We will have a proclamation from Mayor Feeney as well as from Commissioner Everson highlighting Developmental Disability Awareness Month in Ross County, and we will also hear from members of our Special Olympics team and the Ross County Board of DD Board of Directors. Additionally, we will have events such as on Friday night, March 6th from 6 to 9 p.m., a party to kick off DD Awareness Month at the Eagles. The day before at the Pump House, we'll begin our art showcase for people in the developmental disability community of Ross County, showing off their art, and you have the opportunity to buy some rare pieces, which is very nice. And we have a whole other list of events, and I'm not going to bore you all with the details, but if you want to check out our website, rossdd.org, or our Facebook page, Pioneer Center, we have a full list of events pinned right to the top.
What time is the walk on?
It's 10 a.m. And we are meeting at the park entrance on Paint Street at Paint and Water, and then walking up to the courthouse. Thank you. And I do apologize. I am going to dip out after this because I need to get some kids' bath times and off to bed.
That's fine.
Bethany Snowden with Katz & Company. Our address is 626 Central Center, Chiillicothe. I'm here a little bit of a surprise for you guys today, and I brought a cat gang with me, so don't mind us. We're not trying to bombard you, but I've been going back and forth via email on and off for 6 months, and I felt like for the sake of time, this was probably my best option to just kind of get in front of you and then get a plan from here. So I'm not presenting you with any requests or any actual like real information other than some ideas, and I hope we can work together moving forward. On December 31st, I drove past Katz & Company's dilapidated downtown building and noticed a shopping cart in the yard and a plastic bag covering the window. A homeless man had moved himself and his 2 cats into our building. I have spent the better part of the last 2 months on a wild passenger seat ride, witnessing the shortcomings of not just our community, but also our world. Our homeless shelter has a waiting list. Emotional support animals are not welcome at detox and rehab facilities. Pet-friendly rentals are basically non-existent, and Section 8 housing for new tenants is still shut down. As you can imagine, I'm not having fun. and we're still helping this gentleman and his cats. I preface this not because I'm asking you for help with this specific situation, but because I want you to know I have seen firsthand many of the areas in our community that deserve funding and attention. I admire all of you for being willing to take on a very difficult, probably heavily scrutinized position, and at times very thankless. I do not envy being in your shoes, but I'm sure you don't envy being in mine, or worse, my husband's with all of our cats. A wise rescue friend once told me there is no humane care without human care, and that's what brings me here today. This is not just about cats, it's much more about the people in our community. The community themselves are begging every single day for help, and I don't expect to leave here with answers today, but I do want to address some areas of concern that I feel desperately need attention and truly believe we do have the capacity to make a difference. A few years ago, we were granted $15,000 by the city for a TNR, Trap Neuter Return program. At that time, I was still doing this entirely by myself with very, very limited volunteers with no public-facing location. We literally did this out of our home, our basement, and we housed the TNR cats in our storage shed in our yard. That has completely changed since we last asked for funding. So we now have close to 30 volunteers, plus we have a 4,400 square foot facility located in Central Center at 626 Central Center. During the time of the first TNR program, I documented and visited cat colonies all over town, and to date, I have recorded over 2,000 unaltered stray roaming cats within city limits alone. Every year, that number grows exponentially. While we have a huge need for a yearly TNR program, I also recently learned that currently there is not one single entity responsible for assisting with a cat that was, let's say, hit by a car and needs help crossing the Rainbow Bridge. A dog, you call the dog warden. Deer or wildlife, there's people for that. But a cat, you're on your own, paying out of pocket, or you have to drive away and leave it suffering. I'm the one that gets those calls while I'm at my real job. Reminder, we're all volunteers. This is 100% volunteer run and donation based. Cats & Company now has a huge network of volunteers, including veterinary assisting students from Pickaway Ross. We're open to ideas and programs that you, in your positions, see fit and feel there is a need for, as well as funding. We can help with anything from housing animals for the homeless and those going to rehab, TNR for the numerous cat colonies throughout the city, pet-friendly housing for those people that are in need, but we ultimately feel the city should have some type of option in case of emergencies with stray cats. Again, right now I'm not asking for anything specifically. I just kind of wanted to get your wheels turning. There is a huge need, and we could take any of these programs any direction, but you're the ones that also hear from everyone in the community. So I get all the cat problems, but if you get the people problems, I'd like to put those together and see what we can do to help. The gentleman that we found in our building, he went to detox because we housed his cats for him. We ended up getting him diagnosed with autism. So he's actually a 44-year-old autistic adult who's been undiagnosed his whole life. So I'm really in the middle of a lot of stuff I didn't expect. But I say that because emotional support animals for us as individuals, we love our pets, we really do. Cats, dogs, whatever. But if you can imagine trying to go through detox or rehab and have to give up your pet, if that's the only thing that you have, that's traumatic for them. So if we can help in any kind of way, we're open to suggestions, and we just hope that we can work with you through 26 to maybe come up with a few programs and funding for those.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, he is clean. January 2nd was his last day using, so we're still on the.
That's really good news.
On the train.
Thank you. If no one else wishes to speak, then we'll move on to old business. Is there any old business to come before council? Hearing none, we'll move to petitions and correspondence.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I've received a liquor license transfer request. The license is requesting to be transferred from Steiner Speakeasy LLC, 31 South Paint Street, to Jason Brown, 31 South Paint Street. And if there are no concerns, I will get this signed and sent to the Department of Commerce.
There are no questions, then we'll move on to new business. Is there any new business to come before council? Hearing none, we'll move on to reading of ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. This evening we have 2 items on our agenda. Item number 1 is the second reading of a resolution authorizing the disposal of municipal property that is not needed for public use or is obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 721.15, by way of auction.
Resolution will move to the next agenda, the next ordinance.
Item number 2 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $35,000 for the purchase of road salt and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Creed.
President Shoemaker, I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3 read rule.
Second by Ms. Bennett. And the clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3 read rule.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The 3 read rule is waived. The clerk will now call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted. If there is no other business come before council, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Dunn, second by Ms. Bennett, and the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes. Sorry, my apologies. McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.